This week, we're going to focus on the offensive side. Now, I'd almost say defense is more exciting with the free agent class that they have out there, but there's a couple key pieces in the offense that's going to be pretty spectacular to see where they fall. So let's just go ahead and kick it off with number 10. And I kind of threw him in there, even though he doesn't really need to be thrown in there. He's not technically a free agent. I'm just going to call him a free agent, and that's Adrian Peterson. After being shut down last year by the Vikings after his his not so good looking court case involving child abuse.
Yeah,
It didn't look good, and he was put on the exempt list. Now, a judge just recently said that, okay, we're lifting the suspension on you. You served your time by being suspended for 15 games. According to the rules, you should only be suspended 6, and you were done for the whole season. So they tried to keep him out longer, but a judge lifted that, and they're not allowed to keep him out longer. Now, he was trying to negotiate
Wait. A judge? What kind of judge? Like a legal system judge?
Yeah, because that's how the collective bargaining agreement goes to. It goes to, legal.
It goes to... Really?
They went to an arbitrator, and then the arbitrator couldn't decide or something, and then it went to a judge.
And the arbitrator was like, nah, you beat some kids.
Well, the arbitrator might have been a judge. That might have been who they had. He might have just been the arbitrator. But yeah, it went to a judge, and the judge overruled the suspension, saying, hey, the NFL has rules against domestic violence, which this would fall under. It is a type of domestic violence, and you are supposed to be suspended for 6 games, which is the rule. And he was suspended for 15. So they're saying, okay, you are eligible to be reinstated as of now. And the NFL was trying to keep him out longer. So that's neither here nor there. But there were sources were saying that, hey, he's probably just going to come back to the Vikings. His people and the Vikings people were coming together. But then apparently there was almost a fist fight that broke out during those negotiations. So my guess is he's not going back to Minnesota. Most likely place he'll end up is probably the Cowboys, because Jerry Jones loves him. He's from Texas. They would love him in Texas. And, I heard a dark horse is Washington, but we got Alfred Morris.
Yeah.
So let's keep on moving. So that was number 10. Number 9, tackle Orlando Franklin. He is a very solid offensive tackle. Offensive lineman, especially after what the Cowboys did last year. They showed that if you have a great offensive line, you can do a lot. The league has kind of gone away from the offensive line because they think, oh, you just need a quarterback and a fast wide receiver. Well, offensive line kind of helps you stand those guys up. And the Cowboys had a horrendous defense last year, yet they still made it to the playoffs. So on the backs of that offensive line. So we're seeing a lot more people go for the bigger, the beefier. And they're really going to start focusing on offensive lines. So, and especially you look at the Seahawks, you look at the 49ers, those guys have great offensive lines. They've been good for the past couple of years. So we're seeing a new trend. It's like, okay, quarterback important, wide receiver really important, but offensive line, we can't skimp on them. So we'll see them going. Then number 8, we have Randall Cobb, the wide receiver from the Green Bay Packers. Now, they seem to have a slew of wide receivers out there. They had a rookie step up. His name is escaping me right now, but Jordy Nelson was spectacular last year. So Randall Cobb, unfortunately, is a little bit expendable, and we'll see him. He's a great slot receiver. He's going to create a lot of matchup problems wherever he lands. And, none of these guys are excluded from landing back with their team, but it's very unlikely to see that happen. Then number 7, I have Julius Thomas, the spectacular tight end from Denver. With all the money they have to throw around, there's going to be another free agent name I'm going to say later on that they're going to have to sink a lot of money into, or else they'll really lose more than they would lose out if they didn't have Julius Thomas. So look to Julius Thomas to go into a high-powered offense and really just, I'm trying to think of some teams. He could go to New England and just be amazing there, but they already have Gronkowski. They don't need him. So we'll see where he lands. But he's going to get top dollar wherever he does land. Number 6 is Jeremy Maclin. After past couple of years where he's been injury plagued, after they removed Deshaun Jackson, he really stepped up and had an amazing season last year there in Philadelphia. So look for them to try to keep him. I don't really see him going anywhere, but technically he's a free agent, so he makes my top 10 list. That's just how it goes. Yeah. So look for him to stay there in that high-powered offense. Number 5, this is going to be a gray zone, DeMarco Murray. Again, if they go for Adrian Peterson, the Cowboys, they're not going to need DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray did lead the NFL in rushing last year, but a lot of that is due to the fact that he had an amazing offensive line in front of him. So, like I said, that is a big thing for them. Now, I don't see them wanting to pay the money DeMarco Murray will want to get after such a great season. And number one is he's kind of injury prone. He does miss some games here and there. So it's kind of a question mark. Do you want to sink a lot of money into a guy who's just not going to really last, who you're going to have to pay for sitting on the sidelines, eating up cap space that might be injured? So it's kind of a high risk, possibly a high reward type scenario. So we'll see where that goes. Number 4 is Brian Bolga. And he spells his name the wrong way. He spells his name with a Y. I don't know. It's kind of crazy when people spell the name Brian with a Y. If you see on the sign right behind me, it's spelled with an I. All right? I. Bry. I.
Brian's a little biased.
A little
bias. Not with a Y.
Biased. He's a little biased. So, yeah. This guy is probably the best tackle available out there, and again, offensive line being a premium position, especially with all the defensive ends out there, all these pass rushers coming off the end, you really need a good tackle. He is a little bit injury prone, so we'll see what happens with that too, but he's probably the best tackle available. Then number 3, we have another lineman coming in with Mike Lupati, the guard from the San Francisco 49ers. He's probably the best, well, not probably, I'm going to give him the best offensive lineman available out there. In San Francisco in 2012, he was all-pro. He's made 2 Pro Bowls since then. Yeah, he's definitely one of the best guards in the game in general, and it's very rare to see one of the players who are probably the best at their position go up for free agency, but it happens from time to time. Then number 2 starts off a pair of wide receivers that are going to be our top 2. We have Demaryius Thomas. This is why Julius Thomas might not make so much money in Denver, because Demaryius Thomas is just a spectacular player. He's coming off his rookie contract. He's ready to get paid. He's shown that he deserves to get paid, especially with Peyton Manning there. He's given Peyton Manning a reliable deep threat weapon. He'll go over the middle of the field. Hell, even when Tim Tebow was there, he was a great weapon for Tim Tebow. So if they let this guy go, I will be very surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they threw a franchise tag on him. It wouldn't be surprising at all. And then number 1, you have Dez Bryant, the wide receiver out of Dallas. And this guy, he's the second best wide receiver in the game, right behind Calvin Johnson. I mean, Calvin Johnson after last year, I would almost give it to Dez Bryant as the best wide receiver in the game. Now, you also have, like, Antonio Brown's good, but he's not the level of skill that Dez Bryant is. Dez Bryant's something like 6'3", he's 220 pounds, so he's huge. He runs super fast. He can catch the ball with one hand. I mean, this guy's spectacular. He's won several games by himself for his team just because Tony Romo's like, okay, I'm just going to throw it in your general direction, and he catches it. So he catches it for a touchdown. And I'm giving praise to a guy who's on the Cowboys. I'm a Redskins fan, so that must show you. This guy is a talent. Now, there are some issues coming out. There's apparently some sort of weird video of him in a Walmart parking lot floating around out there. And the Cowboys offered him a deal, but like almost all of it was like not guaranteed. It was something like $20 million guaranteed out of a $100 million deal. And he was none too happy about that. But if they don't agree to some sort of terms, watch them slap a franchise tag on this guy. They're not letting him get away. He's not leaving Dallas. Not anytime soon, at least. So, you know, we have if you're in the market for a wide receiver, you do have some good ones out there. Again, most of them are going to get locked up by their teams, so don't see them moving. But you never know what could happen. But those are my list of the top 10 offensive free agents in the NFL.
What?
Who do you think is the top free agent in the NFL this year, Brendan?
Chewbacca.
He's a top free agent in every league every year. That is true. I can't believe I left him off the list. I'm sorry, Chewy. Don't rip my arms off after this one. Damn. Now, he's very good with sewing arms back together. So I have had my arms ripped off by him multiple times. But let me know what's your favorite, who you think is the number 1 offensive free agent in the NFL this year. Who do you think is going to get slapped with that franchise tag? And I don't know why people hate on getting the franchise tag. That just means you get paid like the average of the top 5 players at your position. So if you're wide receiver, you're probably making like $15 to $17 million. You know, oh, sorry, oh.
Yeah, what is how many players typically get the franchise tag, and what does it entail to
Every
get it?
team has one franchise tag. That means if you can't agree to terms with them, you get to make sure that they don't leave to go anywhere else. They have to stay where you are. Again, the
But only one
contract is kinda
player?
worked
You
out by
can put that
averages.
on only one
One
player?
player per team. But
Hmm.
most teams don't use it. So I'd say about maybe 14 to 15 are used every year. So.